Warm welcome to the International Institute of Anthropological Applications. And I'm glad that you have attended this session on digital ethnography. And for the past 4 months, we are doing this course on digital ethnography. We are trying to cover the seminal works in the field of digital ethnography, and the digital anthropology. These are the new domains, subdiscipline. Digital anthropology is a new subdiscipline of anthropology, and digital ethnography is also. For the past 30 years, and some experts and ethnographers, they are working hard and trying to use this digital technology era related tools to undertake their research, and they try to understand the relationship between humans and the digital technology. So they are trying to figure out the impact and the consequences, and what exactly is going on in the culture kind of thing. So, yeah. So digital anthropology is the anthropological study of the relationship between humans and digital era technology. The field is new and thus has a variety of names with a variety of emphasis. These include techno-anthropology, digital ethnography, cyber anthropology, and virtual anthropology. The digital anthropology group, DANG, is classified as an interest group in the American Anthropological Association. DANG's mission includes promoting the use of digital technology as a tool of anthropological research, encouraging anthropologists to share research using digital platforms, and outlining ways for anthropologists to study digital communities. Cyberspace itself can serve as a field site for anthropologists, allowing the observation, analysis, and the interpretation of the socio-cultural phenomena springing up and taking place in any interactive space. National and transnational communities enabled by digital technology establish a set of social norms, practices, traditions, storied history, and associated collective memory, migration periods, internal and external conflicts, potentially subconscious language features, and mimetic dialects comparable to those of traditional geographically confined communities. This includes the various communities built around free and open source software, online platforms such as 4chan and Rediff, and their respective subsites, and politically motivated groups like Anonymous or WikiLeaks or the Occupy movement. Yeah, I found a book called Digital Anthropology, edited by Heather Horst and Daniel Miller, which was published in 2012. This book is also prescribed in our course description and also the reference book. So from this book, in this book, the authors proposed 6 basic principles as the foundation for a new subdiscipline, digital anthropology. The intention is not simply to study and reflect on new developments, but to use these to further our understanding of what we are and have always been. I repeat, the intention of this subdiscipline, digital anthropology, is not simply to study and reflect on new developments, but to use these to further our understanding of what we are and have always been. The digital should and can be a highly effective means for reflecting upon what it means to be human. I repeat, the digital should and can be a highly effective means for reflecting upon what it means to be human, the ultimate task of anthropology as a discipline. In this introduction, in their introduction, they use the findings of these individual contributions as the foundation for building 6 principles that they believe constitute the key questions and concerns of digital anthropology as a subdiscipline. So based on the contributions of the individual authors of this book, this is the edited book. So in this book, a collection of the articles are there. So based on the authors' contributions, so the editors have developed 6 principles, basic principles to do digital anthropology. Digital anthropology is an applied aspect of anthropology. So they apply the digital technologies to undertake ethnography. So, yeah. The first principle is that the digital itself intensifies the dialectical nature of culture. The first principle is that the digital itself identifies the dialectical nature of culture. The term digital will be defined as all that which can be ultimately reduced to binary code, but which produces a further proliferation of particularity and difference. The dialectic refers to the relationship between this growth in universality and particularity and the intrinsic connections between their positive and negative effects. The second principle of this digital anthropology is the second principle suggests that humanity is not one iota more mediated by the rise of the digital. I repeat, the second principle suggests that humanity is not an iota more mediated by the rise of the digital. Rather, the authors suggest that digital anthropology will progress to the degree that the digital enables us to understand and exposes the framed nature of analog or pre-digital life as culture, and fails when we fall victim to a broader and a romanticized discourse that presupposes a greater authenticity or reality to the pre-digital. Third principle, the commitment to holism. The foundation of anthropological perspectives on humanity represents a third principle, where some disciplines prioritize collectives, minds, individuals, and other fragments of life. Anthropologists focus upon life as lived and all the means of relevant factors that comes with that. Yeah, this is the strength of our discipline, holism. Anthropological approaches to ethnography focus upon the world constituted within the frame of a particular ethnographic project, but also the still wider world that both impacts upon and transcends that frame. Fourth principle. The fourth principle reasserts the importance of cultural relativism and the global nature of our encounter with the digital, negating assumptions that the digital is necessarily homogenizing and also giving voice and visibility to those who are peripheralized by modernist and similar perspectives. I repeat, fourth principle reasserts the importance of cultural relativism and the global nature of our encounter with the digital, negating assumptions that the digital is necessarily homogenizing and also giving voice and visibility to those who are peripheralized by modernist and similar perspectives. The fifth principle is concerned with the essential ambiguity of digital culture. The fifth principle is concerned with the essential ambiguity of digital culture with regard to its increasing openness and closure, which emerge in matters ranging from politics and privacy to the authenticity of ambivalence. The sixth principle acknowledges the materiality of digital worlds, which are neither more nor less material than the worlds that preceded them. I repeat, the sixth principle acknowledges the materiality of digital worlds, which are neither more nor less material than the worlds that preceded them. Material culture approaches have shown how materiality is also the mechanism behind our final observation, which is also their primary justification for an anthropological approach. This concerns humanity's remarkable capacity to reimpose normativity just as quickly as digital technologies create conditions for change. I repeat, this concerns humanity's remarkable capacity to reimpose normativity just as quickly as digital technologies create conditions for change. The authors argue that it is this drive to the normative that makes attempts to understand the impact of the digital in the absence of anthropology unavailable. So these are the six principles to do digital anthropology, to understand and to engage in digital anthropology. These are the six principles proposed by the editors of the book, Digital Anthropology. Digital anthropology is a new subdiscipline emerging, and it is in its infancy. For the past 1 decade, the research is going on, and these disciplines emerging, but the research already started. The ethnographic works have already started for the past 3 decades. So, yeah, we have in the past sessions, we have already covered the digital ethnography, the principles and practice. In this book is written by 6 authors: Shara Pink and Heather Host, John Postel, and Larissa Hichot, and Tanya Levis and Joe Tachi. These are the 6 authors who wrote this book, Digital Ethnography. So in that book, they have proposed 5 principles of doing digital ethnography and 7 concepts that constitute the conceptual framework to undertake digital ethnography. So this is the book which we have given full attention in the previous session. And just I want to brief that book within few minutes. The 7 key concepts. The framework to undertake digital ethnography as proposed by authors of the digital ethnography principles and practice. The 7 key concepts in social and cultural theory can be used according to them for the design and analysis of ethnographic research. These concepts were selected to represent a range of different routes to approaching the social world. Digital ethnography outlines an approach to doing ethnography in a contemporary world. It invites researchers to consider how we live and research in a digital, material, and sensory environment. This is not a static world or environment. Rather, it is one in which we need to know how to research in it as it develops and changes. Digital ethnography also explores the consequences of the presence of digital media in shaping the techniques and processes through which methodologies through which we practice ethnography, and accounts for how the digital methodological, practical, and theoretical dimensions of ethnographic research are increasingly intertwined. In that book, it was not just for the specialist in digital media. Rather, it is a proposal how we might do ethnography as the digital unfolds as part of the world that we co-inhabit with the people who participate in our research. Doing research with and through and in an environment partially constituted by digital media has led to the development of new and innovative methods and challenged existing conceptual and analytical categories. It has invited us not only to theorize the digital world in new ways, but also to rethink how we understood pre-digital practices, media, and environments. Digital ethnography addresses this context by explaining the possibilities of digital ethnography for both researching and redefining central concepts in social and cultural research. So in that book, The Principles of Digital Ethnography, they have prescribed 5 principles to follow while we engage in a digital ethnography. So the first principle is multiplicity. There is more than one way to engage with the digital. That is the principle of multiplicity that we need to keep in our mind while we undertake our digital ethnographic endeavors. And the second principle, non-digital centricness. Non-digital centricness. The digital is decentered in digital ethnography. So this is an important principle. So we should not obsess with the digital, but the digital should be decentralized to have a normal and open approach to engage in digital ethnography. And the third principle is openness. Digital ethnography is an open event. We should be open for everything that happens. And while we undertake digital ethnography on our digital field sites or cyberspaces or digital spaces, whatever you call. So the openness should be there. So that is the third principle these authors have prescribed to get while we engage in digital ethnography. So the fourth principle is reflexivity. Digital ethnography involves a reflexive practice to get back and think about our thinking. Thinking about our thinking. What do I think about what I think? So this is a metacognitive skills. So what people do, why they do, what they do and why they do, the way they do. So, and in their own conception and all those things. So reflexivity is the fourth principle. Digital ethnography involves reflexive practice. And the fifth principle is unorthodox. Unorthodox. Digital ethnography requires attention to alternative forms of communicating. So we always should be open, and we have to look for alternative ways of communicating, and with our subjects, and so that and also we should decenter digital, and we have to have our open and the non-digital centricness. So kind of thing. So all these are the 5 principles the authors prescribed for doing digital ethnography. So the authors have also gave us a conceptual framework to undertake digital ethnography, and which we have covered thoroughly, each concept. The 7 concepts they have come up to undertake a thorough attention while we do digital ethnography. So the 7 concepts are experiences. The second concept is practices. The third concept is things. The fourth concept is relationships. And the fifth is social worlds. And the sixth is localities. And seventh one is events. These 7 concepts together builds as a conceptual framework, which are the
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Could you please repeat the concepts again, sir? The 7 concepts. Could you please repeat?
Yeah, sure. The conceptual framework to undertake digital ethnography. The first concept is experiences. So what people feel, that is the focus of. So on this, we have one full session we had. So just I am summarizing what we have done in the past, in the previous sessions. And the second concept is practices. Practices, what people do. So the third concept is things. These objects that are part of our lives. So what are the objects that are part of our lives? That are the things. So things as a third concept. The fourth, relationships, our intimate social environments, relationships, the fourth concept. The fifth concept is social worlds, the groups and wider social configurations through which people relate to each other, the social worlds. What are the social worlds of that subjects that we study? So the groups and wider social configurations through which people relate to each other. That is the fifth concept, social worlds. Sixth concept is localities. The actual physical, physically shared context that we inhabit. That is the localities, the concept of localities. Seventh concept is events, the coming together of diverse things in public context. So the coming together of diverse things in public context, the events. So researching experiences, researching practices, researching things, researching relationships, researching social worlds, researching localities, and researching events. These are the 7 concepts which are theoretically justified, because for the long time the social sciences are engaged in these 7 concepts to undertake the social research. So yeah, these authors of this digital ethnography, principles and practice, Shara Pink, Professor Shara Pink and her colleagues, the 6 authors have proposed this conceptual framework, and which they have thoroughly, for each concept, they have given 3, minimum 2 case studies from different parts of the world, and how digital spaces or digital technologies are impacting people's experiences and people's practices, and what are the things they use, and how the digital technology era is impacting those things, and how the relationships and social worlds, localities, and events, how all those things are reoriented, and new meanings and new theories, new concepts, and new perceptions and interpretations, and all the new sets of meanings are triggered by these digital technologies. And those are the things, these are the 7 concepts the authors have proposed to undertake digital ethnography. So in this book, we found 5 principles to keep in our mind while we engage in digital ethnography, and 7 concepts which are well established in social sciences over the period, many decades, how these concepts can be used as a categories to undertake digital ethnographies. So this book we have thoroughly studied, and we have finished this book. And just I'm reminding you what we have done in the past. And now we are going to take another book, the Routledge Companion to Digital Ethnography. In this, this is the edited book, 44 others, 44 chapters are there. So very important contributions in digital ethnography. It's a compilation, so 44 chapters, and each chapter is very important for us new beginners to understand how the digital ethnography is really engaged and undertaken, and how what are the finding kind of thing. So I'm aspiring to cover this whole book so that our participants in this course will have a broader understanding what is happening in the world across the different universities, and these professors who are authorities in the digital ethnography. These 44 chapters are very, very crucial for us to examine how these principles of digital ethnography and the principles of digital anthropology and the concepts of digital ethnography, how these things are really operated in the field sites, digital field sites, how the data is accumulated and organized and interpreted, how the new concepts and theories, what are the new theoretical departures coming due to these digital influences on human cultures and human nature kind of thing. So yeah, this digital ethnography, the book is the Routledge Companion to Digital Ethnography. This is the edited book. The editors are Larissa Hijot, and he is the host, and Annie Galanove, and another person is there. So yeah, with the increase of digital and networked media in everyday life, researchers have increasingly turned their gaze to the symbolic and cultural elements of technologies. From studying online game communities, locative and social media, to YouTube and mobile media and ethnographic approaches to digital and networked media have helped to elucidate the dynamic cultural and social dimensions of media practice. The Routledge Companion to Digital Ethnography provides an authoritative, up-to-date, cutting-edge, intellectually broad, and conceptually cutting-edge guide to this emergent and diverse area. That's bring to your notice in each chapter, so that the main synopsis means key ideas I want to bring in a speed phase, so that our students might be equipped to do the productive digital ethnography. So the Routledge Companion to Digital Ethnography provides an authoritative, up-to-date, intellectually broad, and conceptually cutting-edge guide to this emergent and diverse area, digital ethnography. Key features of this book include a comprehensive history of computers and digitization in anthropology. I repeat, the key features include a comprehensive history of computers and digitization in anthropology, exploration of various ethnographic methods in context of digital tools and network relations, consideration of social networking and communication technologies on a local and global scale. Yeah, this is another key feature, is that the consideration of social networking and communication technologies on a local as well as a global scale. And in-depth analysis of different interfaces in ethnography, from mobile technologies to digital archives. So these are the key features of this Routledge Companion to Digital Ethnography. As the digital becomes increasingly entwined, as the digital becomes increasingly entwined within everyday life, ethnography's value as a key methodological and analytical approach to understand the ways in which digital media technologies are changing how we live, work, and play has increased. Pink et al., 2016, and Hein, 2015. Bringing together scholars from a variety of disciplines, including anthropology, sociology, media, communication, culture, and cultural studies. The companion reflects upon and seeks to assess the past, present, and future of digital ethnography through a series of key rubrics. Key rubrics means a key headlines. Debating digital ethnography, relationships, visibility and voice, place and co-presence, play, arts, infrastructures, politics, and design. Yeah. The Routledge Companion to Digital Ethnography considers the interdisciplinary role of digital ethnography as we move into progressively more complex digital environments within the everyday. I repeat, bringing together scholars from a variety of disciplines, including anthropology, sociology, media, communication, and cultural studies. The companion reflects upon and seeks to assess the past, present, and future of digital ethnography through a series of key rubrics. Debating Digital Ethnography, Relationships, Visibility and Voice, Place and Co-Presence, Play, Arts, Infrastructures, Politics, and Design. The Routledge Companion to Digital Ethnography considers the interdisciplinary role of digital ethnography as we move into the progressively more complex digital entanglements within the everyday. In this editor's introduction, the authors outline 9 rubrics and the attendant 44 chapters that constitute the current state of digital ethnography research. The authors conclude by introducing the 3 provocations for the future digital ethnography. I repeat, the authors of this book, the Routledge Companion to Digital Ethnography, the authors conclude by introducing 3 provocations for the future of digital ethnography. The companion begins with a section dedicated to debating digital ethnography that contextualizes contemporary debates about the consequences of digital media technologies for ethnographic practice from different disciplinary vantage points. The first chapter by anthropologists Mike Fortin and Kim Fortin and George E. Marcus provides a short history of computers in anthropology that stems back to Clifford and Marcus writing culture, and a seminal text in defining the politics and practices of ethnography and fieldwork to contextualize new modes of ethnographic research, collaboration, and expression. Similarly, sociologist Christine Hein draws from a decade and a half of ethnography focused on the internet to consider how digital media cultures have shaped ethnography as a practice, reflecting upon the changes and the continuity within the academy. Science and technology studies scholars Annie Bulu follows Hein with a discussion of how computationalization excuse me, I repeat, science and technology studies scholar Annie Bulu follows Christine Hein with a discussion of how computationalization shapes some of the adaptations of ethnographic methods. A framework that ethno-sociologist Wendy F. Husu also explores through her discussion of prominence. Husu further questions the purpose of writing as a predominant expression of ethnographic knowledge. I repeat, Husu further questions the purpose of writing as the predominant expression of ethnographic knowledge within the context of our digital media. Similarly, sociologist Christine Hein draws from a decade and a half of ethnographies focused on the internet to consider how digital media cultures have shaped ethnography as a practice, reflecting upon the changes and the continuity within the academy. I repeat, similarly, sociologist draws from a decade and a half of ethnographies focused on the internet to consider how digital media cultures have shaped ethnography as a practice, reflecting upon the changes and continuity within the academy. Science and technology studies scholars Annie Bulu follows Hein with the discussion of how Yeah, this discussion of how computationalization shapes some of the adaptations of ethnographic methods and a framework that ethnomusicologist Wendy F. Husu, who explores through her discussion of the performance. Husu further questions the purpose of writing as the predominant expression of ethnographic knowledge within the context of digital media. Debating digital ethnography continues with the reflections by two contributors, Jenna Burrell and John Postel, who consider how the digital media technologies in our field sites and fieldwork represent continuity rather than a rupture with previous ethnographic practice. I repeat, debating digital ethnography continues with reflections by two contributors, Jenna Burrell and John Postel, who consider how the digital media technologies in our field sites and fieldwork represent continuity rather than rupture with the previous ethnographic practice. Burrell, for example, highlights how online practices make visible the notion of quote, the field site as a network, unquote, that is meaningfully constructed through the ethnographer's experience. Postel also argues for continuity, noting that ethnography has long involved studying at a distance, but digital media technologies make researching from a distance, doing remote ethnography, and easier. The section concludes with a chapter by Georgina Bourne and Christopher Howard, who reflect upon the meaning of digital ethnography itself. As they highlight, digital ethnography has a double meaning. It refers to deploying the ethnographic to understand digital culture, as it does apply to the use of digital methodologies increasingly within ethnographic research. I repeat, the section concludes with a chapter by Georgina Bourne and Christopher Howard, who reflect upon the meaning of the digital ethnography itself. As they highlight, digital ethnography has a double meaning. It refers to deploying the ethnographic to understand digital culture, as it does apply to the use of digital methodologies increasingly within ethnographic research. Yeah. So throughout these 44 chapters, what are the questions these digital ethnographers are looking at? So these are the questions, their research problem. Each question is the research problem for the ethnographic investigation. So, so these questions I'm going to read for you, so that you will have a broader and a wider understanding. What are the research problems these digital ethnographers are looking at in the contemporary times, and for the past decade and a half or maybe. So that while we initiate any digital ethnographic research, the problems, the research questions are already there. Bundle of research questions which are already investigated. Those research problem or research question and their methodologies and their findings. What are their findings in their local context which they have undertaken the study? But the same thing can also be undertaken here in our Indian context. Even India is a subcontinent, a huge diversity and different ethnic groups and linguistic plurality. all these things. So the same pattern, we can also examine here what is happening here, kind of thing. So for that, with that intention, to encourage you to get broader exposure, what are the research, different research questions across these 44 chapters, the ethnographers are, digital ethnographers are engaged with, kind of thing. So I'm going to read it for you. How digital environments, methods, and methodologies are redefining ethnographic practice. That is the one question. The other question is to understanding how quote unquote old concepts are impacted by digital ethnography practice. The third question is to understanding how we live and act in a context that is today almost always co-constituted and entangled with digital technologies, content, presence, and communication. To understand how we live and act in a context that is today almost always co-constituted and entangled with the digital technologies, content, presence, and communication. The other question, how the practice of ethnography is changing due to an engagement with digital environments. So this question will bring emerging ethnographic practices. So the other question is how computationalization shapes some of the adaptations of ethnographic methods and frameworks. How computationalization shapes some of the adaptations of ethnographic methods and frameworks. The other question is how the purposes of writing as the predominant expression of ethnographic knowledge do takes place within the context of digital media. How digital ethnography does contextualizes contemporary debates about the consequences of digital media technologies for ethnographic practice from different disciplinary vantage points. And the other question is how do writing culture, a seminal text in defining politics and practices of ethnography and fieldwork, how do writing culture to contextualize new modes of ethnographic research, collaboration, and expression is taking place. The other question, how digital media cultures have shaped ethnography as a practice, reflecting upon the changes and the continuity within the academy. How the digital media technologies in our field sites and fieldwork represent continuity, how the digital media technologies in our field sites and fieldwork represent continuity rather than rupture with previous ethnographic practice, how online practices make visible the notion of the field sites as a network that is meaningfully constructed through the ethnographer's experience. What are the different forms of sociality that are being mediated through digital media cultures, especially social media? How social media is shaping and being shaped by small communities around the world. What are the possibilities of social media to move beyond kinship and place-based social ties to develop new relationships I repeat, how social media is shaping and being shaped by small communities around the world. What are the other question, what are the possibilities of social media to move beyond kinship or place-based social ties to develop new relationships? The other question, how transnational family practices do or being transformed into light of the ubiquitous presence of communication, what the author calls polymedia environments. I repeat, how transnational family practices do or being transformed in the light of the ubiquitous presence of communication or polymedia environments. And what are the limits of digital media technologies to transform who, when, and how people are seen and heard? I repeat, what are the limits of digital media technologies to transform who, when, and how people are seen and heard? The other question, now I'm reading what are the questions that the digital ethnographers are looking at in the contemporary times. So, how small community of commercial lifestyle, micro celebrities is engaged in self-branding by using a range of social media to transform themselves from mere bloggers, quote unquote, to influencers, quote unquote. So using their visibility and voice for economic gain. I repeat, how a small community of commercial lifestyle micro celebrities is engaged in self-branding by using a range of social media to transform themselves from mere bloggers to influencers, using their visibility and voice for economic gain. How digital, the other question, how digital media cultures may replicate or transform existing offline forms of inequality and participation. I repeat, how digital media cultures may replicate or transform existing offline forms of inequality and participation. The other question, what are the spaces digital ethnography can provide for speculation and for a creative series of changing approaches, theories, and probes? I repeat, what are the spaces digital ethnography can provide for speculation and for creative series of changing approaches, theories, and probes? Yeah. So these are the bundle of questions that the existing literature, particularly in this Routledge companion to digital ethnography, brings to our notice so that we can have a clue what are the kind of research questions and really the things, research problems or going on across the world. So what is the future like? There are pros and cons to digital ethnography versus in-person ethnography. There are pros and cons to digital ethnography versus in-person ethnography. Digital ethnography versus in-person ethnography. What are the pros and cons of digital ethnography? However, in a world where we are digitizing more and more of our lives and emotions, either publicly via social networks or privately over closed messaging platforms or private social networks. I repeat, however, in a world where we are digitizing more and more of our lives and emotions, either publicly via social networks or privately over closed messaging platforms or private social networks, both ethnography and digital ethnography will play a huge role in helping researchers better understand behaviors at a greater scale and lower costs. So what is the future like for digital ethnography or ethnography? So these are the ideas that shared by the editors and the others. So yeah, I finished my presentation for today's session. I just introduced, I just summarized what we have done in our previous sessions, and what we are going to do for future sessions, and I briefly introduced the ongoing debate, the digital ethnography debating the digital ethnography. So there are 9 rubrics, 9 key headlines. These other these Routledge companion to digital ethnography has brought. So under these 9 rubrics, maybe 5 to 9 or different chapters are there again. So 44 chapters are categorized under 9 rubrics, 9 headlines. So each headline for one session that I want to do. So from so these are going to be very comprehensive, and at the same time very brief synopsis will be given, so that please don't miss the sessions. These are going to be very important sessions to scan through the existing literature. What happened, what is happening, what is going to happen, what are the future directions. All these things are shared by the authors and the editors in this book. Very important book. Thanks to the editors and the others for their toil and for their hard work, for their commitment to the discipline of subdiscipline of digital anthropology and digital ethnography. Thank you for participating and in this session. And dear students and scholars and faculty, if you have any questions in this concern, you can ask, or else I'm going to close it.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes. Yes, Lipikanath, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. The session was very nice, sir. Actually, I just have one question to. Actually, it's a query. You were supposed to you just shared in the group that we would be having a objective kind of test. So, is it going to happen like upcoming on upcoming Saturday? Like you have shared in the group that we are going to have an objective kind of test. So is it going to
the test? Yes. The thing is, the important thing is the syllabus is not yet finished. So the important the studies we need to cover. So this is going to be extended. So the coming Saturday we will have another session under these 9 rubrics. The first rubric will be finished. So, and also I promised in the past that I will post the jargon, digital ethnography jargon, key concepts and these brief definitions. So that I'm working on it, and I'm collecting and compiling. So once it is done, I will post in the group so that if you master those key concepts and brief notes, that will be very useful for you to have a deeper understanding of what we are doing. So yes, Lipikanath, and also we are going to have an objective test to assess your grasp of things. So majority of our students are not attending. So that is one part of it, how they are going to do. But I hope because I see 46 people have subscribed in our the YouTube channel. So we have 50 students registered. Some of them are students, some of them are scholars, and some of around 20 members, faculty members from different universities have subscribed, registered for this course on digital ethnography. So offered by International Institute of Anthropological Applications. So we are very committed to offer you the best possible course to give you in-depth understanding and to help you full grasp of the ongoing digital ethnography research. So to assess your understanding, we want to provide conduct a objective type tests.
And so what is about the draft, sir? Digital ethnography draft. So what we have to do for that?
I will post some articles, and we have the sessions, completed sessions on all those things. So you can attend. If you miss some sessions, you can listen to those video recordings available.
Yes, sir.
On YouTube
I gone through that. Yeah.
Oh, very good. And also regarding drafting, means undertaking the digital ethnography, you have to start, because we have discussed the principles of digital ethnography, the concepts of digital ethnography, and the principles of digital anthropology, subdiscipline. So, and we are going to give different case studies and 44 case studies and brief key ideas. And if you try to figure out your research problem, come up with your research problem and research design, Professor S.B. Reiser and Professor Bartholomew C. Dean and Dr. Jairam Kiran from University of South Florida, and Professor Bart is from the Kansas University from USA. So these are the myself, 4 of us will together, and also some of our Professor Satyapal from Andhra University. He's also going to deliver some lectures on ethnography and digital ethnography. So we are going to help you in designing the methodology and discuss the practicalities and sampling and all those things. If you come up with the rough draft, means research design, and if you can present on the Zoom meeting, then we can do that. Maybe within 2 weeks, if you are get ready, I will also request our professors to present, so that they will help you and give you clarity and how to go about it, kind of. So
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
so did I answer your question regarding the draft?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome, sir.
So done. See you in the next session. Thank you for participating.
Yes, sir. See you.
Bye. Have a nice day.